Welcome everyone to Golden Grove and Our Life Now and Forever. This is part 5, I think. And boy, we have come a long way. I was looking over last recording and saw that my eyes, I looked very unimpressed a lot. And that's because I have these weird heavy lids, and because of that, VTube Studio is like, oh, well, you're not opening your eyes all the way. I am. They just don't open very wide. So if I ever look unimpressed, that's why. But now back to school. Andy, Chew, Tamarack, let's go. Off of the tangent. Welcome, let's go. A little bit of cold you'd brought inside the school on the tip of your nose and over your cheeks had finally drifted off your face. It was nice and warm when you went into the room. Your brand new class, 5th grade, room 24, smelled like people hard at work. Cut construction paper, crayons, glue, anything that could be made with that. Ooh. The days of middle school. Or I guess this is before middle school. Huh. Elementary, yeah. I haven't been in there for a long time, so I forgot. There were tons of leaves stuck to different colored walls, climbing around the windows, hanging from the shelves, and sneaking out from behind boards, where some of those things could be made. Kids sat together in close groups. The desks were pushed up to make bigger tables. There was just one chair by itself right at the front, or the back if the way was in the front door. Tamarack took in a loud breath of waxy air.
Wow, I thought it was going to be ugly.
Way to diss this school, Tamarack. Good job. Good job. Good job. Oh goodness. This is ugly? Oh no. Oh no, don't say, okay, I'm gonna say this, but then I'm gonna immediately regret it, so. Reminds me of you! Adorable!
Yeah.
Chew shrugged his backpack off to the floor. When it hit the ground, a puff of air came out of the not totally zipped top. Nothing in the place caught his eye, in a good way or a bad way. It was like nothing around him existed. That's weird. Chew just watched you and Tamarack look. He chuckled at the faces you both made. The classes look the same for every room, in every grade, every year. Oh. It wasn't that he couldn't see what you did. It was just he'd already seen it 110 times over, or more. Chew knew school as well as he knew about everything else here in Golden Grove. He kicked his backpack behind him to be up against the wall, never glancing down. There was already a bunch of other bags there, sat one by one along the far side of the room. They were almost completely hidden under a row of hooks that had coats and jackets and stuff cluttering over them in stacked piles. There weren't enough holders for all the layers people brought. You're pretty lucky. This is your first time here, but you're only gonna have to be new once. We're gonna graduate and go to a different school next year. We'll be all new kids then. He talked while pulling his arms out of the jacket you'd always seen him wear so far. He tossed it on top of the rounded lump of other coats with a hook somewhere below it all. Oh goodness. Tamarack waited, watched, and then she tugged at the end of her scarf to undo the knot it was wrapped in. She talked too.
I told you this place was weird and never changed.
That made Chew at her. The sound was almost exactly like the noise his backpack had made a few minutes ago. School is different than the entire town, Tamarack. Tamarack didn't say any more words against that. She just got on her tiptoes to sling her untied scarf over Chew's jacket, building the mountain of stuff on the one little hook even higher. This poor little hook, man. Chew shoved his bandana deep into one of his pockets and lifted up his other over his shoulder. You're right. That class is always the same. Seeing Chew without his fluffy jacket felt like seeing a lion without its mane. He folded his arms high across his chest and gazed upon what you were starting to get was his kingdom. He had all the pride of a lion, even without the jacket. though Chew acted like that was it for getting ready. He didn't take his gloves off. He was going to wear those in class? Tamarack held tight to the strap of her bag. It for sure wasn't going with the rest of the packs. That meant she was definitely already done with the putting your stuff away part of getting to school. Tamarack's overalls were the most over clothes she had once the scarf was off. No coat or cool poncho or anything. The overalls were kind of short too. They didn't cover her whole legs. Her ankles and long socks and yellow rubber rain boots to keep them warm. But you didn't have to wonder if she had felt cold the same way almost all people do. I like my sweater. I'm keeping my little hoodie. Good morning and welcome, students. You glanced over your shoulder. Is this our teacher? Oh my gosh. Oh, I like her. I like this teacher. In the open doorway was another new person for you to know. Her braids did match a few of the kids to the hair, but she wasn't going to be sitting in the desk with them. She was twice as tall as everybody else in the room. That had to be the teacher, Mrs. Murray. Her soft brown eyes looked down over you and your neighbors while she tapped a finger against her freckled face. Freckle squad, yas. The pattern on her skin was almost like stars, if the sky was light at night and the stars were the darker part. Her rosy pink lips parted into a smile. She inclined her chin toward Chew. Nice to see you here, Mr. Chewlin. This will be a good year. Yeah. Ooh, do you not... Ooh, is there some drama or something going on here? What is that face for, Chew? Chew stretched the word out as far as it could go, and at the same time, he opened his arms wide. He turned his head away, too. He had the kind of tone your ma would have when she had old work friends over, and they'd ask if she could set her up on a blind date. Squeaking cheerfully, and not real, he was trying to be nice, but wasn't trying that hard. Oh no. Though when his eyes were rolling away, his gaze passed over you and got stuck there. A mischievous grin tugged at the corners of his mouth as the sound of his voice went from off-key to chiming. Maybe. What do you mean, maybe? Chew, what do you... This boy frustrates me. I don't know if you can tell that. He just does. Mrs. Murray's pointy eyebrows lifted. Oh gosh. She blinked one time, and then her own smile grew. It was only shared with you and the Tamaracks next. Hello, I'm your teacher, Mrs. Murray. Am I right to say that you're Tamarack Bowman and Andrew Peterson? I'm Andrew. I don't know why that took me so long to figure that out, but yeah, I'm Andrew. Tamarack bobbed her hands in the air and twisted in place to swing her bag so that it hung behind her back.
And I'm Tamarack.
That is so great. Mrs. Murray spoke sweetly in a way that was just nice. I wasn't surprised or relieved to find out the answer. She probably didn't need to ask to know who you were. Teachers knew a lot. If you'd be so kind, would you mind coming over to my desk over there in the far corner? I'd like to talk to the two of you before class begins.
Okay.
Tamarack finally lowered her hands back down to her sides. She still bumped her bag around by pushing it up and down with her butt. It clattered loudly and Mrs. Murray pretended not to hear. That's an interesting sentence right there. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it means, but okay. What do you want to talk to us about? I want to see if I can help you a bit. Does that work? All right. Thank you, both of you. She gestured lightly with her hands for you to come and lift the doorway. Chew turned his head to follow the teacher. More and more of his dark hair eclipsed your view of the rest of him as she walked away. When you lost sight of his face, there had been a frown on it. Are we in trouble? Oh no. After she was really gone, he swung back towards you and Tamarack. Chiu was smirking then. Okay, he was just frowning at the teacher for no reason. How nice. Good luck out there. He tipped over on one foot and bent his body way down. His other leg kicked into the air. He could balance better than a flamingo. I do this too sometimes, I think. So, he's not that flamingo-y. That's not a word, flamingo-y. Chiu slipped a hand under his jacket on the hook, and also under Tamarack's scarf, which was also on top of it, and dug around in the fabric. He didn't come out empty-handed. He'd gotten a hold of his favorite notebook and a pencil. Chiu slowly lifted his chest up and brought his one hovering foot down to the earth again. That whole thing was graceful, but he followed it by wildly waving his notebook goodbye at you. And a paper fell out when he did it. Okay, I knew that was going to happen. When I read that, I was like, don't drop any paper, Chiu. He did. Tamarack squealed, trying to talk but too fast, so none of it was real words. What I just said wasn't real words either. She reached her arms to Chiu graspingly, like she could pick him up and plant him back where he'd dropped his things. But that didn't work either. He stepped away on light feet, carefree, and joined up with one of the groups at the desk. They all raised their heads and waved when he arrived. He was gone, and the teacher was waiting. Tamarack squinted her eyes tightly. She directed her gaze towards you because it wasn't like anyone else in the room could understand her. You gave her a look back. Huh. Oh, these are all weird. You know what? Yeah, let's just go with... not again.
This is gonna be however long it is.
Love you, Tamarack. You picked up the paper and put it in your pocket without looking. That seems logical. Let's do that. You made a beeline to the tan page on the dark blue carpet and snatched it off the ground before somebody could step on it or it could get blown away or get lost in the middle of the forest. I don't think it'd go that far, Andy. I really don't. You simply tucked it away. That was taken care of. Tamarack pretended to be a jack-in-the-box like she did yesterday. This time it was by bending out her knees before bouncing straight. Her fluffy locks of hair shook around her round cheeks.
Come on, Andy.
I probably just butchered her voice there, but I don't care. She skipped off to the teacher's desk, all smiles. You caught up to her in no time and walked the rest of the way, side by side. Off in the corner on the other side of the room was the teacher's old, dark brown desk. At least the very top of the wood was dark. The inner part was a lot lighter. You could see that from all the tiny cuts and scratches over the surface. Ooh. I will tell you, keeping wooden desks and their staining, keeping it actually in good condition, it takes a lot of effort. It was as far away from the desks as it could be. You guessed that it was so she could have all these kinds of talks without everybody else hearing what everyone else was saying. Mrs. Murray didn't sit in the cool rolling chair that went behind the desk. She stayed in front and only leaned her back against the top edge. She got to talk to you and Tamarack gently because she didn't have to push her voice around a piece of furniture that separated the students and teachers. I appreciate you coming to this meeting. I wanted to let you know a little about today. What you can expect from your first day here.
Why?
Well, this class is a unique arrangement of the students, but you're the only two who have never actually attended this school before. Everyone else is simply returning after a summer break. I'd love to introduce you during roll call later. I want all the other kids to know who you are.
Oh.
Tamarack flicked at the buckles on her bag. They made a clinking sound when she hit them up and a thump when they landed back down. Her gaze moved around too. The meeting wasn't exciting anymore. Oh, poor Tamarack. Huh. Your teacher was definitely smart. That would help a lot. Yeah. Well, actually, no. Having your own introduction made you feel special. Andy is not an introvert. Um, it was like you were somebody famous. Mrs. Murray smiled approvingly at how you and Tamarack handled that first assignment. I'll make sure it goes well. The teacher slid her hands across the desktop behind her and spread her fingers out wide. In a couple of minutes, I'll be telling the class to take their seating arrangements. You'll have those spots for the rest of the year. I made a seating plan already, but there is a little bit of wiggle room to help you get comfortable, if you'd like. Tamarack's hand flew from her bag to her cheeks. That sounded like a smack. Hold on, let me do it. Oh gosh, that was really loud.
Does that mean me and Auntie get to sit together? 'Cause we're neighbors and friends?
Was she right? You held your breath and balled up your hands into fists, waiting to know if you get to be with Tamarack the whole year or not. Hopefully we do, because she's amazing and I love her. A twinkle was in Mrs. Murray's eyes when she finally said what you were hoping for. You thought that she might have paused on purpose to make it more dramatic. Come on, Mrs. Murray. Yes, I can put you next to each other. This is my happy dance, okay? Yes. Yay! It made Tamarack explode in celebration. She sprung over so close to your face. You leaned back without even thinking about it. Even with that, her nose almost poked yours. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's hearts.
Auntie, we're gonna go sit together.
Yeah. We've got something then. Anything else? I personally love having a window seat, but maybe Andy doesn't. So, can I sit away from the wall? You can.
Oh, is Chew next to us too? He's our neighbor.
Mrs. Murray was a really proper lady from what you'd seen. She didn't have one wrinkle in her fancy suit, but creases suddenly appeared around her eyes and mouth after she heard that. Oh no, he's not going to get to sit next to us, is he? The line spelled not again. Oh no. No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're getting along with Chew, but there were students who wanted to sit next to him last year and didn't get to. It's their turn now. Your eyebrows went up so high you almost could have lost them. That many people wanted to sit by Chew? That is crazy. Like, is he popular or something? It was kind of rude to the teacher, but you had to turn your head right around to look at the guy you'd been talking about. He was leaning over a bunch of desks from before and still talking to those other kids you didn't know. There was a big smile on every face. Okay, so Chew is popular. That's good to know. You tilted your head back to where it came, but not all the way. You only moved it enough to be looking at the side instead, at Tamarack. Her gaze was directed straight at you, too. She gripped the strap of her bag that was weighing against her chest. Since the day you moved in, it had just been the three of you in your cul-de-sac. Even if the day you moved in was yesterday. It was the same group. You, Tamarack, and Chew, the neighbors. But you weren't in your neighborhood anymore. On the outside of that street, Tamarack was exactly like you were, and Chew wasn't. Oh. You and her were strangers at Golden Grove now. You didn't know people, and they didn't know you. Chew had been here forever. And it wasn't only that. You'd already learned something on your first day of school. Chew was popular. Oh no. If this is like a bad thing. I mean, it kind of makes sense with this personality. You were glad to have a friend like Tamarack even more. Yeah. Trust me, if you want to be friends with somebody and they're popular, it gets really awkward really quickly. She can understand what it was like to be you. You were both new here, and you were with each other. Not looking at her didn't stop your teacher from trying to talk to you. So, Mrs. Murray had to wait for you and Tamarack to stop your shared stares of surprise, and then she pointed across the floor to a couple of desks near the back that were side by side. Those are yours. Tamarack's is the closest to the wall, and Andrew, yours is the one next to that. Oh, thank you.
Window seat! Window seat! I'm gonna get the window seat!
Tamarack happily sung herself a simple song about her just brand new desk. Besides the roll call, there won't be any surprises. It will be a regular, easy first day of class. Thank you for having a chat with me. You can take your seats now. Tamarack's cheeks inflated and she pushed a smile between the two balls of air.
Okay, let's go, Andy.
Bye! The teacher stayed resting up against her desk while you and Tamarack went towards your own seats. Tamarack sent quick, excited glances from the desk, and then back to you over and over as you walked towards them. She chatted about how this was going to be so fun, being right next to each other, and all the things you were going to do that year. She beamed so bright, it was like her sparkly golden hair made the sunshine that filled the room. Tamarack doesn't have golden hair. She has red hair. Tamarack skipped along with her rosy cheeks, and every time she giggled over getting to sit by you. You definitely felt as warm as being in the sun. Aw, friendship, I love it. Or more. I don't know why I did that. But the grin you had on your face had to be as being gleaming. The two of you might burn the place down. Oh no, please don't. You're both 10. This is not the time to be arrested. A clap and a call came from where you'd just left. Attention students, class is starting. Please take your seats. Just like that, Mrs. Murray was beginning the lesson. You were right in front of your assigned group desk when she said it. The red plastic chairs Mrs. Murray had pointed out before was probably really old, but it was brand new to you. You pulled it out from the tables and gave sitting in it a try. Hard, cold, and slippery smooth from the back part. And the back part wasn't bent straight. It bent away from the bottom seat part. It felt like leaning against the top of a shiny slide on the playground. If you weren't paying attention, you might fall off. Maybe that was the point. That was a good way to keep kids focused. It's more like a... I won't say what it's more like, but you know what? Tamarack was right next to your left side, by the wall and the window, just like she wanted. Aw. Past her you could see the rustling treetops outside, with their golden fall leaves all bunching together. They kind of looked like Tamarack's puffy hair. Not as sparkly, though. Again, she doesn't have golden hair, it's orange or red. She plopped her huge, jingling pack on the desk. The actual bag barely fit, and she had to bundle up the strap on top so that it wasn't sneaking over into somebody else's workplace. That's a big bag, Tamarack. My gosh. Ugh. The tips of her rain boots were pressed against the dark blue carpet, and she tapped her heels together. It made the shoes squeak. She was excited for her own little place in the room.
Andy, we're gonna be right here for the rest of the year.
Yep, I've got the best neighbor ever. Tamarack patted her hands against the thick fabric of the bag and giggled in time with the hits. She stayed pretty busy making a beat. You glanced out at the room ahead of you, where the important boards and teacher were. Chew was there too, in the very first row of seats. And it wasn't the same spot he'd been in before when you saw him talking to some more people, but those other classmates he was sitting with were just as happy to have him there. He was hanging out one of his arms on the top edge of his chair, and was settled in so snugly he looked like a heavy blanket that had been thrown over it. He moved his head to the side to rest his cheeks against his stretched out shoulder. Chew somehow made himself sit even more relaxedly. Is relaxedly a word? I don't think so, but neither is cranberryness, and that was the thing in the first episode, so. When that happened, he noticed you behind him. Chew firmly pressed down his eyebrows and pushed his mouth open a little. And we're gonna leave it here, guys. And if you enjoyed this episode of Our Life Now and Forever, don't be afraid. Go check out the other parts. Now that I've figured out the audio, I'm sure it'll be much more enjoyable to watch. I'm really enjoying this series, and I just needed a quick break. But now I'm doing good, everything's fine, and we should be back to Our Life Now and Forever again next week. So I can't wait to see you again.